really gravitated to our artifacts upstairs. And so when we started talking about her showing here, she made this entire body of work for this museum, inspired by the artifact collection and the mounds that are here, really our ancient history of this land and a reflection of the people who all once gathered in a community here many thousands of years ago. So I'm going to quit talking. We thank the Ohio Arts Council. We thank the Scioto Foundation. We always thank them, and we thank McLymont for cooking this morning. Take it away.
Well, hi everybody. I'm not sure how to kick it off, but I'll say that yes, the artifacts inspired the show. When I was invited, I came just to see a show and then left with this invitation for this huge opportunity for me as an artist. And this is my first museum show, and my biggest solo show. So noting that for a second.
Yeah. You saw her here first.
Well, yes, with this body of work, I've been doing portraits, and I won't stop doing the portraits, but I wanted to take this space and this time to really honor the landscape. I'm a child of immigrants. Both my parents are from Jamaica. They met here, and me and my twin sister were born in New York and then moved to Columbus. And all I had known was the drive back and forth for a couple of years. And just looking at the landscape back then, it just really got under my skin and my thoughts. And I'm at a point now in my own life as an artist, an older artist, to take time to give honor to where we are in the world. So coming here and then learning about the mounds and doing more research and seeing how alignments happen throughout the state and how important it was thousands of years ago was impactful to me. So using my jewelry experience and my explorations as a painter, I came up with this idea to honor our past. And actually, there's another member, I'm on the Public Art Commission in Columbus, and with the Christopher Columbus statue being taken down, there's a lot of talk in the city of like where we are as people and what it means about where we are, and of course Black Lives Matter is ingrained in all of that. So this was a good way to go back to the beginning of where humans started and thinking about how the indigenous people shaped the land and honored the elements and used them to grow with. And then to know hundreds of years later, the Underground Railroad came through here, and this was a big spot. Marietta is where it started, right? Granville, all over the state. So as an implant, it was really an implant Black person. It's really neat to know how much Ohio has been important to our history and our shaping. So this body of work is stepping back from all of those facts and looking at it from a more spiritual standpoint. Spiritual is in honoring earth, not religion. Maybe indigenous religion, that's probably a good way to put that. But what you're looking at are, this is a lake, and the light is bouncing off that light of the water. The metal takes the reflective spirit, so they also represent bones. Copper.
Walk around? Do you just want to kind of start and walk around? Or is that a good way to do that? Sure. Yeah.
If we do that, then we have to start at that piece because this was the first one.
All right.
So, how many people make art here? Are there any other? Oh, excellent. Have you guys made a body of work? And what was it like when you first started? I recommend choosing how to make a body of work. I feel like that's a great assignment to give yourself as an artist. You have a talent, and then you want to start to tell a story and have it unfold in a space. So that was the challenge that I had ended up assigning myself. I want the work that I make to feel meaningful to more than beyond me. So this honor show was a great way to do that. I decided, because I have a small car and I like to travel light, I decided to hang raw canvas off the wall instead of making all these pieces to fill a space with large work. So these showed up all rolled up, and I surprised Charlotte and Mark with my effortless packing. But this was the first one, and while you're here, I welcome you to just, you know, touch the work. I mean, don't yank it. It's pretty secure, but being a part of it is a wonderful thing. So as the artist, I welcome you to, like, you know, see what it feels like, feel the metal. So I glued the metal. I was originally going to sew it, and I had this red metal thread that was going to do that and represent the blood of the land, but that was really tedious, and I don't know how quilters do it, but thank you for your work, quilters. So I use glue. But please know, every single piece of metal on the works, every single work, I hammered and shaped. I cut the metal, hammered it, and I really thought about time passing and what human hands made without any instruction. Like they worked on discovery and intuition, and that work, this work kind of represents what I assume that feeling feels like. So suns rise and set, and there's alignments, and in that action, the mounds are almost mathematically perfect in how they were built. But they're based on circles and you know, surrounding and building safety and fertility and rebirth. All these things are going through my mind, and then you think of the seasons passing and how light hits the landscape. All of these works are inspired by that landscape. So when you're either zipping by in a car or walking through the field or a forest, and you squint your eyes and you can kind of see the light, you know, turn into these circles. So these orbs are echoing that feeling, but they're also giving you a peek into the earth. So all the burials, all the things they left for us to find, the holes in these works kind of echo that and invite you in and come up and stay a while. Yes?
The process of getting the color on, what was the process?
So, process, once I got the canvases in the studio, I took house paint. I just got house paint and rollers and had them on the ground and just kind of rolled and got these waves. Actually, this bit here is bleach. It's the only piece that's left, as I was worried that the bleach would, you know, disable the cloth. So, but I love the glow of it there. The rest of it is done with paint. So I did like a variety of like spray. I had paint in spray bottles. A lot of these lines are just the edge of the roller, so I just really let it go. I would use a spray bottle with water and thin out the paint, and then just kind of, so you know, for me it was a little bit meditative and just disappearing into what I imagined that landscape could be. And holding that, so across each one of these, I'm thinking about a piece of the season or fire in the forest, you know, that underbrush clearing. I'm thinking about the wear of time. So I use metal, you know, those cleaning brushes to roughen up the cloth and kind of make it look less handmade. Even though there's some hard lines in there, I made it look worn. And then the other bit of inspiration is once I had all the panels, I started with the large panels. Once I had the panels, I still wanted that, the shadow play and the light play, so I decided I was going to cut some holes. Completely experimental. The challenge of like I'm also a portrait artist, and that's a really tangible, like, this is a person, here's what they look like, you might recognize them. This is different, it's like you're creating a world. You don't know what it looks like yet until you start working, so it's like I could daydream forever, but at the end of the day I have to put, you know, the hands to work, right? So that's what happened with this. I got to that point where I cut the holes, and I'm like, now it's coming together. Yeah, you artists know. After I made this one, I made the autumn one over here. And this I locked in to suspending a world in space. So there's a hole, but there's a whole like world supported within, and I love that feeling. So I feel like that that piece right there is really representative of the essence of the show. Holes that invite you in, holes that build shelter, holes that suspend life, all of that is working at play here. For this one, the smell is gone, but I had curry mixed in because it was my nod to my Jamaican family. There's a lot of Jamaicans here in Toronto, along with Somali and all those other immigrants. But it kind of, the whole idea of trade with Indian and like where copper and how copper was used as money, maybe? An element of trade to build the world. Curry also did some of that. Spices was, a form of payment to trade into. I'll say while I'm at this piece that this work is a collaborative piece. This is a bed sheet made by another artist, and it got ripped down. Her campaign was "You Are Loved," and she did it for a year. Her name is Cicely King. And in that year, she went through all these amazing phrases and lots of positivity. And then for Black History Month, she decided she was going to focus on Black Lives Matter, Black Culture Matters, Black Mothers Matter, Black Families Matter. And throughout that month, she kept getting those phrases torn down, ripped, cut, fragments hanging, a real commentary of like what's happening in Columbus right now and the devaluing of Black. So for this panel and the one right across from it, this was Black Culture Matters, and culture is over here and matters is over there, because culture and matters to me is like it goes across race, so it's not just Black, it's also indigenous across the board, like all around the world. Human life matters, actually life matters, beings matter, earth matters. So I love this. I showed this to her, got her approval before I made it so, but to incorporate what's happening now from a protest standpoint with the making of the world ultimately was a big piece for me, but I think that's mostly me. When all time passes, I don't know how important those things, I guess it's as important as we make it, right? Write the right story for that. But yeah, so for right now, this is another piece that makes sense to me and ties together, or at least brings some sense to me as someone who's an immigrant to Ohio. All the paths that have come to bring me where I am today. Want to again give honor to the indigenous for what they provided thousands of years ago. So the other small works are done between late last year and early this year, right before drop-off. Because I love to work till last minute. I don't actually love it, but I do it a lot. So this wall, and I love how they hung it. I gave them all the work, and they hung all these small pieces. But these small pieces are speaking to the large pieces that I did 2 years ago to hang in the space. So on these, I gave myself the challenge of not buying additional materials, and I used what I had, which is a lot of the panel and some remnants of other murals that I've made, and remnants of some of the circles I carried from these works to tie in together. But smaller vignettes of seasons, radiant energy, so there's the central one that has all the rings on it. I love that it's central, actually. The colors is like the actual landscape, and then everything else around it is the imagined and the feeling you get from looking at the landscape. So I want to say too that it's a gift that Charlotte and Mark picked up the work and hung the show and made my life easier, because that's not my forte. I'm making the work, and so to come into space and see how it's hung and the story is told just by conversations with them is just it makes it so extra for me.
Emily had a big part in getting them all on the wall.
I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, so much. So I'm going to stop talking for a second. If anybody had any questions that I could answer, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the piece on the front wall?
Yes, this piece was actually done a few years ago for another artist couple, and we're one of the other couples at the wedding. So I made this with my partner, Kat Sheridan, who is another artist and runs the Rife Gallery in Columbus, Ohio. She's a ceramicist and I'm a metal worker. Well, at the time I was doing just metal. So we created this balance, and it's a representation of our relationship and the give and take, and being a part of each other is the whole bit of the work. But because it's orb and it's still earthy and it really spoke to this show, so I wanted to bring it back out again and show it off. And I feel like it fits perfectly. Yes?
Do you see your work as an extension of the earthworks movement?
Maybe.
That's
I feel so new to it. I think I need to get
When
familiar
you
with.
talk, you sound like those artists talking about their work. I know
Oh,
there's
really?
a whole ancient culture.
Well, then yes.
I'll rewrite that, yeah.
I mean, I am like a guard, like I really do honor the earth. So I feel like yes, but I didn't know there was a movement.
Spiral jetty.
Yeah, I have my own inner movement, and it's always spiral based. Even when I was making jewelry, everything was spirals. So this is all part of that. I probably won't make jewelry anymore. The metal is now present in the art, and I feel like I've always wanted it that way, like the minimal style.
You see, you're for the, yeah, this shows our age. This is going back to the early 70s.
Absolutely.
But,
Yeah, so yes, I want to say it is public art. That's right. Public art. Yeah, I'm definitely inspired by the minimalists of the 60s, the earth workers, like, definitely feel like I'm part of that. I'm shaped by that. But if there is a movement now, I definitely want to know.
Andrew Goldsworthy,
Yes.
Well, I do.
Robert Smithson. You think anymore? Never does it.
The sky reminds me of Eileen Woods.
Yeah.
She's in, is it Mansfield right now?
Another white artist.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Love it.
yeah, you unknowingly.
Yeah, you know, and that makes a great point that I know I'm not doing anything original. I'm taking concepts that were past and bringing them forward. So thinking about the mounds and not keeping it locked in the past and, recognizing it as such. We're still affected by it. So, making the work feel contemporary but speaking to that history is the bridge that this body work is trying to be. So yeah, that's a great point. Thank you.
Well, and to that point, we see with the collection we have, so many people come in and they identify each point by each little curve it has or each little chisel mark that where flint is gone, and it's so specific. And I love this contemporary interpretation of that material, because so much of it can wade into very technical, when it was found, carbon dating, and very scientific. And I love that, just the orbs, just being in here when we were installing it was just, it had the same type of presence that we get when we're alone in that space up there. And Lisa also did a whole workshop with high schoolers yesterday, for better or worse. They weren't real receptive. And so, Emily, we get some response, but, we were talking about the strata of the earth, and, when I was that age, somebody just explained it to me like lasagna. It's just the lasagna of culture, just being built on top of each other. And I do really like the incorporation of the Black Lives Matter. I feel like it's just part of our strata, part of our layer. And how is it that we've gotten this far into the strata and we haven't solved some really basic problems of human existence yet? And so that also crossed my mind too, just living with these. But I just love the reference of the pathways and the journeys and the orbs and the rising and the setting and the orbs. You know, we talked about that some when we were in your studio. And these, for me, this is just my interpretation, became like diary pages of the earth. And they were kind of fun. I started reading them almost like diary entries of this is where we are in this era. And it was kind of fun then to treat them almost book-like, page-like.
I love that.
Yeah.
It is. I try to put even meaning in the titles to tie it to what the story being told. So yeah.
Yeah, your titles are, yes, so look around and read the titles, because Lisa spent a lot of time really putting forth, like kind of boiling it down to the essence of really a nice title, yes.
Oh, I also want to say, with the ceramic comment, the holes also speak to us needing to build for ourselves today. So what we're uncovering. For example, there's a store called North Market that in Columbus, they're about to build a high-rise, and they unearthed a graveyard, which they kind of knew was there, but there's a lot more bodies than they expected. So it's like, what do we do now? But recognize that this is happening. So they're doing their best. They're still trying to make money. So yeah, thinking about that, cutting a hole in the earth and inserting my life or current life into that, that's another thought to keep in mind as you're walking around looking at titles and being part of the story. Any other questions? Thoughts?
How would you store this? Just out of curiosity.
What's that?
How would you store this?
I had it, how'd you get it? In a bag. I put it in a plastic bag, and yeah, this is the most unwieldy part because you can't fold it up, but.
It's never broken or anything?
Ooh.
Good.
No, I gave it, I think the bag was like rolled up at the top.
I know, I did some art this myself, and it's sometimes hard to figure out where do you put this on the cap.
This is actually really sturdy too. You can see how thick the ceramic is, so I'm definitely more gentle with the ceramic part. But when you come over, take a look in because it's glazed and meshes with the watering inside the vessel of ceramic.
I don't know, if I may comment, that, it seems like a really strong body of work that is totally, it seems like you really dove into your soul to get each of those pieces that are not repetitive, but clearly a part of your entire body and your entire thought process.
Yeah, thank you. I wish that I could say it was built over the time, but really a lot of the thoughts were swimming in my head, and then I had a shortened body of time to actually pull them together. So it's been an interesting journey, but I know it's not over. This is one of my largest body of work, but two, it's new in that I'm taking concepts that I've been thinking about for decades, really, and bringing them to life to take them out this far. So I appreciate that. I want to say it's also probably the designer in me more than the artist, trying to make it cohesive to build that story. It could be, but I don't know. I mean, it could, maybe that's just the art altogether, the creative side. But I felt myself drawing on my design talent more to make sure that I wasn't being repetitive, because it is repetitive and circles and lines in every piece. But when you think about it, circles and lines is everything. It's like ones and zeros in the digital world, and so we have repetition, but we also have identity, and each piece is its own identity. Thank you. I try not to use a lot of neon colors. I know that's a big trend to be big and colorful, but I'm very drawn to the natural and minimal and earthy. So you're walking into my head. I know. Any other questions?
I'd like to comment just from a museum educator standpoint that I really love the connections between your works. Obviously, preserving and artifacts, but I also love how your symbolism parallels Clarence Wilbur Carter and his work that has to do with the ovoids and the eggs and that symbol for life and the soul. And it's just such a wonderful thing to be able to draw comparisons between these different body of works in the Vermont collection.
Yeah, I didn't know about the egg collection.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I must put that inside, because, I mean, they've been on display every time I come, so.
Right, we have a concentration of them. We have a baker's dozen out right now. Yeah. Yeah, so what we're talking about is how this body of work does relate not just to this collection, but while you're here, please go upstairs. Clarence Wilbur Carter, who was from here, an artist from here, has a collection of paintings of eggs that were a very spiritual body of work for him. And they are floating eggs. They're eggs, and we have a really nice cross-section of them, of what he's done with them and what he was thinking. So take a stroll upstairs too, and it's kind of fun to see them and look down and see them in context with each other.
Did you guys rearrange up here to bring the shapes that are on display right here?
Just
In 2020.
I wonder, I mean, it was arranged since I've come, but all these work shapes really speak to the work. Even the vessel that's at the beginning. So definitely take a walk through there. I've never been up there. Great stuff. And you were saying there's 2 of the flint arrowheads.
Yeah, we've got, I think there's 3 actually, or Clovis points, which, if you don't know, are the oldest known artifacts from North America. And so I think those date back to the end of the last ice age and the first people that occupied the land here in our region. And those are really special pieces. Yes. So we were very grateful for the Father and Son collectors, Charles and Bill Wirtz. Charles Wirtz especially, because he was born in the 1870s, and this is at the point in time when the U.S. government was still waging war with the Native Americans across the western frontier. And in 1847, there was a group of gentlemen that came through, sponsored by the Smithsonian Institution, and they did excavations at Mound City, which is a prehistoric Hopewell culture mound site in Chillicothe, Ohio. And under one of the mounds, they found a cache, a bundle of smoking pipes that were carved exquisitely in the shape of the local wildlife. And they didn't value them enough to put them into the permanent collection of the Smithsonian. They thought they could make some money off of them, so they were offered to anyone in Ohio that might want them. Nobody cared, nobody wanted them. And then they offered them actually to anyone in the entire country that might want them. No one wanted them. So now they are actually in the British Museum in London. So you can travel to London and look at pieces, cultural items that came from right here in Ohio. And yeah, it's pretty wild. So there's a similar cache of pipes that almost match, which came from Tremper Mound here in West Portsmouth, and those are in the collection of the Ohio History Connection in Columbus. So we were very lucky that by 1915, when they excavated the Tremper Mound, they did see the value in the objects that were created here. But it is pretty mind-blowing that something that's that spectacular, which might be one of the most, or the most significant prehistoric archaeological find in the entire country, wasn't valued by the people that lived here. But yeah, part of it is putting it into context, because of what was going on in those circumstances, just the items that came from those cultures weren't valued because those cultures at that time were seen as enemies and not valued. So luckily we've had a big shift in perspective between now and then, and part of that appreciation is reflected in Lisa's work.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Lisa's here. She's not going anywhere, so if you're too timid to ask in front of a crowd, she's not going anywhere.
Definitely tour with the exhibit.
Right, there you are. If you want to take a piece of it home with you, we have gallery guides that are illustrated that
And well written.
talk a lot about what's going on. So take one of these with you, and we talk about kind of the history, a lot of this history that we were just talking about. So these are free. Take one of these. And then we also have